The cinema specialists are back, and today, in what is probably our most highly anticipated episode ever, somehow we counted down our top 100 movies of all time, and as we went through, nothing ever came close to where we are right now. We're pretty much walking on the moon because we are talking Adam Sandler movies. We figured it would be kind of fun. Last week, if you didn't check out our Dune 2 review, check it out. Listen to people get mad at John. It's always one of my favorite things when John gets yelled at. And then we figured it would be fun for the rest of March before we turn over and do a different series because, as you all know, whoever is listening, if you're new, check out all these other episodes. We did our top 100 movies, our favorite 100 movies. That's what it was. Then we did the Marvel Cinematic Universe up through the end of phase 4. And now here we are, and we're going to jump into something totally different come April, May, June, and pretty much from here to eternity. So we thought that it would be fun, though, in the month of March to say, let's sit down and let's do brackets. And the first of those brackets is going to be determining what is the ultimate Adam Sandler movie. But the key with this is we're not determining what's the best Adam Sandler movie. We're not determining what is the funniest Adam Sandler movie or any of that. We are determining what is the ultimate Adam Sandler movie. What is the Adam Sandler of Adam Sandler movies? Now, we only chose 12. We did kind of eliminate by our own accord. There were certain movies that I'm sure people are going to be annoyed. We didn't include Just Go With It, Pixels, those types of movies. Those movies weren't going to make it out of the first round if John and I were being the ones who were making the decisions, which we are. Here we are. Brendan in the Now says Jim Carrey next. Actually, next we're going to be doing Letterboxd 16 most popular movies, and our goal is going to be to determine what movie should actually be the most popular movie on that massive film fan website. So first, though, we're doing Adam Sandler. It's the first episode of March Movie Madness. It's technically the second one, but it's the first one with a bracket. John, how's it feel to be here?
It feels great to be here. Honestly, when we came up with this idea of just doing brackets in March, it was tough. It was a cool idea. We didn't know exactly how to go about it, but thank you, Carrie Underwood, for suggesting this on the patron Discord as a topic for us to discuss, because as much as it kind of pains me that I watched 12 Adam Sandler movies within the span of 10 days, this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about.
I got to be honest, man. I enjoyed these. I did. I was actually very pleased. There's something about Adam Sandler movies that are very homey and that have stood the test of time. We were talking about it, and we're going to definitely break it down when we get to these movies. For 90s movies that are raunchy comedies, mostly of a man acting like an immature child, they age pretty well.
Most of them do.
They're not very offensive. We'll talk about Big Daddy, but there's a joke in Big Daddy where the joke is that there is no joke about a gay couple. That was shocking to me. I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, this is 1998 or 1999, whatever year it is. And Adam Sandler had the low-hanging fruit and didn't swing and smash it. Instead, he kind of makes a statement about this is what gay people do. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Is Adam Sandler, what was he doing in the 90s? It's sort of character, because you see some of these comedies from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, these raunchy comedies, they age like shit. So to see these Adam Sandler movies, I was honestly kind of impressed. There's always the Waterboy, which we'll get to when we talk about it. But, there's that. So before we dive too far into this, I'm going to rattle off what the 12 movies are so that everybody knows. So we did the seeding based on their popularity on Letterboxd. We didn't take his 12 most popular movies. We just did the seeding out of the 12 that we chose based on the popularity. So the 1 seed is Uncut Gems. The 2 seed is Punch Drunk Love. The 3 seed is 50 First Dates. The 4 seed is Click. 5 seed is Grown Ups. 6 seed is Hotel Transylvania. 7 seed Happy Gilmore. 8 seed Big Daddy. 9 seed The Wedding Singer. 10 seed Billy Madison. 11 seed The Waterboy. 12 seed was Funny People. Now, if you're trying to write all that down, if you're trying to get it, here's what I can say to you. You're going to see the backgrounds here, but that's okay. If you're watching, here's your treat. If you're not watching, that's on you. The Adam Sandler bracket. Now you guys can see it. Everything is right there, right in front of your face. You can watch along with us as John and I rip through what is going to be a very fun, very entertaining, and I don't even know how long podcast it's going to be. Mm-hmm. John, I actually wrote down criteria for what I think makes an Adam Sandler movie. And this was my criteria, because obviously you and I are going to have to come to agreement on this,
of course,
right? We are going to have to determine. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to bully you, even though I do bully you most of the time. I'm not going to this time. because last night, everybody, I just want to give John a big shout out. He tied me in the Oscar challenge. He thought he won. He went to bed last night thinking he had won. And then we found out this morning that he actually tied. So that was a big win for John. I understand where he's coming from. I do feel a sense of victory knowing that John went to bed thinking he won and it actually turned out to be a loss. I also feel a sense of victory that I got all of the big awards right. I called Emma Stone, which was freaking epic. That felt really good. I really do think Sandra Hüller is the reason why Lily Gladstone lost that award. I think they split votes and Emma Stone ended up coming away with it. So I just want to throw that out there. I just want to say that. I can't bully John all the time now because he's almost achieved. He's almost elevated himself to specialist.
I just want to say, according to Emma Stone, everyone in that category won the award. So technically speaking,
and that's why Emma Stone is the only one who has the Oscar in her hand. I'm sure if she felt that way, she'd cut it into fifths and give it out. But I don't think she's doing that.
Like Mean Girl style, right? But I actually went to bed thinking I won because I forgot I didn't go with my heart on best sound.
On Zone of Interest. I thought you had. So what was funny was I was watching late because anybody who tunes into this channel, I was doing the podcast with Adam Klein last night for our predictions and power rankings for Survivor 46 episode 3. And when I was doing that podcast, we had the Oscars paused. So as soon as I got done off the podcast, my wife and I finished the Oscars. We went to bed at like 1:30 in the morning. So I didn't score anything. But when it hit sound, I said, oh my God, John won. Like, of course he did, because I knew I had picked Oppenheimer, but I think I had talked you out of it. So that really worked out in my favor. And John, you even said it this morning. I really do deserve like a humanitarian award because I essentially got you a freebie when I told you that What Was I Made For was going to win. You said I'm Just Ken. And I said, dude, it won the Grammy for best song. It is not going to I'm Just Ken. What Was I Made For is going to win. And that made you change. And that's ultimately why we tied.
It's true. And while I'm Just Ken didn't win the Oscar, it still won best moment of the night by far last night.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna be talking about Adam Sandler movies here, but I do need to say this. Last night's Oscars was the best Oscars since I was a child.
It's been
the best Oscars. They did such a phenomenal job with the pacing. I thought that the supporting actor, and actress thing was going to be so annoying and so tedious, and actually it moved along at a pretty good clip. Was funny to see Nicolas Cage go out there on stage, and it was funny to see people who never probably met each other talk about each other. That was good. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing Nicolas Cage, who is kind of the butt of a lot of jokes in Hollywood, get to go out on stage and remind people that he won the Oscar for Best Actor in 1996 for Leaving Las Vegas. I mean, I thought that was really cool. So I am really, I really was so pleased with it. And I had complained a lot that it felt like the Oscars was trying to find that middle ground of, are we a show for cinephiles? Are we a show for the masses? What are we trying to do? And for so many years now, they've tried to go towards the masses. And it hasn't worked. And last night's Oscars was the highest rated Oscars since pre-COVID.
Wow.
There's a reason for that. And honestly, it's because now I'm going to go tell people, no, that was a great show. It was entertaining. It was funny. The bits were good. The jokes, the John Cena, the John Mulaney, all of that stuff worked. It didn't get overly political. I kind of liked the recurring joke that they weren't going to thank their agents or anything like that. I enjoyed that. So I was very much into it, and they pretty much got everything right. I really didn't come out of that complaining about anything. I know Oppenheimer wasn't either one of our favorite movies of that year, but coming out of that, I felt very satisfied with the Oscars that Oppenheimer won and the ones that it ended up losing. I felt satisfied for Emma Stone. I'm bummed for Killers of the Flower Moon, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. When the highest amount of awards a movie wins is 7, I can't even feel bad about that. That there was such a huge disbursement of the awards.
Well, especially compared to 2023 when Everything Everywhere All at Once just won.
Yeah. It was so nice because we were very worried that Oppenheimer was just going to sweep. I know because I listened to our predictions this morning. And we expressed that concern several times over this award season. And it's so nice to know that it didn't happen. And that it didn't win awards it had no right winning.
Yeah.
Which was the
Yeah. Exactly. Emily Blunt didn't sneak in or something like that. So, All right,
And
let's get
zone
to
of
Adam
interest
Sandler.
one sound, and that's really what mattered.
And that's what's really important. That is what's really important. So let's jump back in Adam Sandler. That's what the people are here for. They want the ultimate Adam Sandler bracket, which, as you can see, is just in Google Sheets. Okay. I didn't do anything spiffy. I didn't make Austin Garso sit down and do this. He's been killing it with the thumbnails. One of my favorite thumbnails ever is this one he just did here for Adam Sandler. Curious what he's going to cook up for our Letterboxd top 16. But I'm so stoked to talk about Adam Sandler and break this down and get into it. So the top 4 seeds get buys, and that's just based on the fact that it's 12, and that's what's going to make it easiest. So our first round matchups are the 8 seed Big Daddy taking on the 9 seed The Wedding Singer. We have the 5 seed Grown Ups taking on the 12 seed Funny People. We have a gauntlet over here. The 7 seed Happy Gilmore taking on the 10 seed Billy Madison. That could have been the finals. And we have the 6 seed Hotel Transylvania taking on the 11 seed The Waterboy. John, I'll let you pick the first matchup. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, before we get into the matchups, we have to talk about our criteria for what makes.
Well, I want you to
Sandler
pick.
Movie.
I was going to say, why don't you pick which one first? So Forrest DeGroat here says, "No, Mr. Deeds. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry, and even that's my boy." Left out some underrated movies. It was tough when we were doing this. I'll be honest, I absolutely despise That's My Boy. That movie drove me insane.
Yes.
And I felt like I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry, at least from what I remember of that movie, probably would be the worst aging of these. And I didn't want to get into that kind of conversation in this movie. Mr. Deeds was actually the one that was the last cut for John and I. We elected to go with 3 more serious of his movies, meaning Funny People, Uncut Gems, and Punch Drunk Love. And that's what ultimately left Mr. Deeds off. We also really struggled between 8 Crazy Nights and Hotel Transylvania. But if you watch John struggle to name the 10 most highest grossing Adam Sandler movies of all time, with the Hotel Transylvania trilogy being his top 3 highest grossing movies, we felt like we had to include that one instead of including 8 Crazy Nights. So that's kind of how we came up with the 12. The Wedding Singer seems like it's always like his dramedy that gets thrown in there. It would have been insane to not include Big Daddy, Happy Gilmore, and Billy Madison. And then The Waterboy and Grown Ups ultimately kind of got thrown in there as, okay, what Adam Sandler became. And these are like his more silly versions. 50 First Dates, ultimately, we just decided was a better option than some of his Just Go With It or some of his other rom-coms, because I feel like 50 First Dates is probably more of a classic at this point. I feel like the Drew Barrymore era is more definitive of Adam Sandler than any of his other eras. Now, there's also the Netflix era of Adam Sandler, but I feel like this is a different version of Adam Sandler. So Here we are. All right, John, pick the matchup first, and then I'm going to tell you what my criteria is, because I don't want you to pick the matchup after you hear my criteria.
Sure.
Now, you don't have to agree with my criteria. This is just what I was thinking while watching these movies.
Okay. Let's start with the 8-9 seed. I think this is a very interesting matchup because these are kind of both dramedies in a sense.
Yeah, Big Daddy was much more of a dramedy than I remember. What in the world was going on with that?
I was shocked at how serious of a movie Big Daddy actually is.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, so Big Daddy had always been, to me, one of those movies that was just, okay, this is stupid Adam Sandler. I liked it when I was a kid, whatever. And now here we are. Look, I got the ticker.
Ooh, the ticker's going.
That's our first matchup. I'll even start adding in like what's eliminated and stuff, because I don't want to have the bracket up the whole time. You got to look at our faces sometimes. Yeah. Big Daddy really surprised me on the rewatch. Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore I watch all the time, so I wasn't surprised. I enjoyed those, but Big Daddy really surprised me. We should probably give what our ratings were for each of these movies, because this isn't just going to come down to this was the movie that I gave more stars, therefore it advances. No. We're talking what is the most Adam Sandler of Adam Sandler movies. So I gave Big Daddy 2.5 stars, and I gave The Wedding Singer 2 stars. What did you give them, John?
I am just double checking, but I'm pretty sure I gave both of these 3 stars. I gave. Wait, why isn't it telling me what my review was? Just give me a second here. Trying to do this the easiest way. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I gave both of them 3 stars.
Okay, so you gave them both 3 stars. So here's what my criteria is, and I just want to see, and everybody in the comments, let me know if this would fit your criteria. John, you can agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Number 1, to be a true Adam Sandler movie, you must have a sports scene. There must be a scene where Adam Sandler is playing sports, or where he is way cooler in a sports scenario, such as an Uncut Gems with he gets to go to the practice, where he is way cooler than anybody who looks like Adam Sandler ever should be in a sports setting. Also, the man's got a wicked jumper. Let's be real. He's got one of the best jumpers in Hollywood. This guy made it big by being a comedian who loves to play basketball. So good for him. But I feel like there must be a sports scene in all of my Adam Sandler movies. John, what do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. I think it's my number 2. I would classify it as my number 2 criteria for an Adam Sandler movie. But I don't think the sports scene needs to involve Adam Sandler just playing sports. I think it can involve him watching sports or talking about sports. But sports needs to be included because that's just who Adam Sandler is.
Yes, there needs to be sports involved. If you don't have sports, you're not Adam Sandler. He finds a way to include it in all of them. So look at this. We're having fun, man. I'm putting tickers at the bottom. I'm doing everything. If you're watching, please like the video. Please like this video. Our cinema specialist stuff, especially now that we're into the heart of Survivor, our movie stuff kind of gets pushed to the bottom. It's really hard to keep it at the front. We just finished up The Traders. That was taking up a lot of our views, and it was, always in that spot. We have The Traders or Survivor in that spot. Amazing Race is starting Thursday, but we really love doing this movie podcast. We really enjoy it. This is more of a hobby than anything at this point. We don't make any money off of this. This is always our least viewed. But if we could turn this into something where we're getting 1,000 views on these episodes, man, that would feel like the biggest win of all time. So if you know movie fans, if you know Adam Sandler fans, if you know anything like that, tell them to check this out, because we'd love to get more people involved based off of this bracket series, because the next series that we're going to be doing is going to be a lot more inclusive to everybody. It's going to be... You haven't seen that, and we're going to be talking about movies that we just can't believe you haven't seen. We haven't decided if we're going to do 1 or 2 per week, but if we do 2 per week, essentially what it's going to be is it's going to be one movie that everybody's pretty much seen. So if you haven't seen it, what the hell's going on? And then the second movie of that week would be an underrated or kind of a hidden gem version that is related in some way to the first movie. So that's what we're talking about with You Haven't Seen That. And so that's going to be really open to everybody. So tell people, subscribe to the channel. I know it's a little bit of a cluttered mess. I got an email from a guy, and Joseph, I'm going to answer you. I promise you, if you're listening to this podcast, which I doubt you are, but if you are listening to this podcast, I promise you I'm going to answer you. I really appreciate the thought and the effort that you put into that podcast. But we know that this channel is kind of broad, and we're kind of doing that on purpose. We want to see what we can make stick, and if we can kind of work our way up. So if you're watching this video and you've made it this far in, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if somehow you're watching this and you're not subscribed. If you're listening over on iTunes, Spotify, come over to the YouTube. Just give us a quick like, give us a subscribe. And if you haven't given us a rating over there, give us a rating, because this is going to be a really fun podcast. And that was a long way of saying the number 1 criteria is sports scene. Number 2, a funny pop culture reference. I'm sorry, an unfunny pop culture reference that was never funny. So what I mean by this is it has to be of the time where he is making a reference to pop culture that fits his movie that wasn't funny when the movie came out, and it still isn't funny.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Do you need an example?
I would love an example that you're going to give here.
Okay, so it actually goes right to The Wedding Singer. So The Wedding Singer's already getting a little notch here. The flock of seagull joke when he goes to the airport, and the guy said, and they have the whole conversation, and the guy has silly 80s flock of seagulls hair, and he says at the very end of that scene, "Do you like flock of seagulls?" And he says, "No, but I can tell you sure do," and that is the entire joke. After that, the joke is over.
So the joke doesn't have to be relevant to pop culture at the release of the movie, but based on when the movie is taking place.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Or it can be anything, really.
Okay.
And we'll need some help figuring these out. So an unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny. Okay. I'm going to keep going here, and then John, you can jump in with some of yours. We need one of the following 3 for this criteria to be met. Okay.
Right.
A fart, a poop, or a burp joke.
Can we add urinating to that as well?
I think we can add urinating to that.
Just like a bodily function joke, essentially, is what we're going for, right?
Okay, so I like that. You summed it up better. A bodily function joke, and I'll put in parentheses, i.e., poop, fart, puke, pee. I can't believe I'm writing these things on the bottom of my ticker here. So you guys are really going to be living your best lives here.
Can't wait till we see this screenshot circulating on
I
social
know.
media afterwards.
I know. It's like, what makes Adam Sandler? I know now is where I need the Adam Sandler thing at the top here. Here, I'll share the screen real quick so that people understand as they're doing this. Okay, next. This one is separate from that.
Okay.
I think it has to be separate. Boob jokes.
Yes, I agree.
There are so many unnecessary boob jokes in every Adam Sandler movie ever. Even down to, I think, Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love have them.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
It's insane. So that one gets its own separate category. And actually, I'm going to add something to it. Boob or ball jokes. Okay, so this is becoming NSFW right off the bat here. But we're doing it in Adam Sandler way, so it's kind of like, how NSFW is it really? All right, only the highest here from the cinema. This is cinema.
Yes.
Number 5, a song he wrote for someone. So he wrote a song for this person, and he sings it to them in the song, in the movie.
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
I feel like it comes up a lot more than I realized when I was a child.
I agree.
Okay, and now here's the final one that I have, at least. Multiple Happy Madison actors.
Yeah, so we're talking essentially the entire cast of Grown Ups, right?
Pretty much. So what I'm talking about with that one is even down to not just David Spade, Kevin James, those guys. I'm talking Peter Dante, Alan Covert, these guys who are in the smaller roles in these Happy Madison movies, but are in every single one of them. So yeah, so like Rob Schneider is an obvious one. David Spade is an obvious one. Peter Dante, Alan Covert. I'd even put Nick Swartz in, even though he comes in later. Kevin James is obvious. That's pretty much where I go with. Those are the guys that I'm talking about. There has to be at least 2 of them in an Adam Sandler movie for it to be considered an Adam Sandler movie.
I agree with that. I mean, that is Adam Sandler's production company, right?
Yeah, Happy Madison. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so makes sense.
John, do you have any that you want to add?
I do, actually, because I think this is actually one of the most important things when determining a good Adam Sandler movie. He has to start the movie slightly morally apprehensible, and then just be a how do I want to phrase this? You realize that he just is a lovable guy with good intentions.
So wait, hold on, John. This is a hard trope to define.
I know.
Hold on.
I know. I think it's morally apprehensible, but heart of gold.
So this is exactly what I just wrote. I wrote bad guy, heart of gold.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah, that's the easiest way to sum it up. And yes, Steve Buscemi is definitely part of the.
Oh, and Steve Buscemi I would count as one of the Happy Madisons.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. He pops up all the time. So I'd count Steve Buscemi as counting as a Happy Madison. If you're tuning in late, we are currently going through the criteria of what makes an Adam Sandler movie an Adam Sandler movie. You have any other ones?
No, I think everything else you mentioned covers everything I would expect in an Adam Sandler movie.
So I took over. Uh-oh.
Do we need a Jewish reference in the movie?
Yes. And now I'm looking at these, and I think every one of them.
I think we do need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Reference to Jewish religion. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a given.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a given. Is there anything else? I don't think I didn't have anything else. So
no, I think that's it. I think that's it. That's a lot of criteria. So we have
we have 8 criteria. But I think this is good because not every movie is going to have all of them. And even if a movie has all 8 and another one has 7, that doesn't necessarily mean that the one with 8 wins. No, it just means how close are they? If we get a movie that only has 1 going up against a movie that has 8, well, the one with 8 is the more Adam Sandler movie, and we have to just suck it up and move it on. But
And it's the strength of these criteria as well, right? Like
Yeah.
a strong 6 is probably going to be a weak 8.
Yes. So let's do this. So let's go Big Daddy
Okay.
versus The Wedding Singer. Boom, right off the bat.
Okay.
And I can put up my other banner now. And John,
Yes.
is there a sports scene in either one of these movies?
Big Daddy absolutely has a sports team. It has the scene where he takes the kid to the bar and they are watching the Jets game.
Yes, with the
And there's
drunk.
also a lot of rollerblading in that movie.
Yes, there is. Yeah, because they're going down in Central Park and he wants them to trip all the time. So that's fun. Okay. Is there a sports scene in The Wedding Singer?
I'm trying to remember if there is. And I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
Now I need everybody to know I came up with this after I watched all his movies, so I don't remember all of them. So if you can remember a sports scene or if you can remember any of these criteria from any of these movies, please let me know. But yeah, I don't think there is a sports scene in The Wedding Singer, and if there is, it doesn't stand out to me.
yeah, I think the thing is like The Wedding Singer is so much more focused on like the 80s culture and music side of things. Because it has something that we don't really see in Adam Sandler movies, where we have a cameo from a musician rather than an athlete.
Yeah, because you're getting Boy George instead. Or I'm sorry, George Michael. Is it George Michael? Boy George.
Billy Idol. Boy George.
No. And no, I know Billy Idol is in the end of it. It's
it's Boy George.
It's Boy George. Yeah, thank you. Why was I like having I could not figure that out. Yeah, so Boy George. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. And because of that focus, like we don't get as much sports, if any, in The Wedding Singer. I can't think of a single sports scene.
No. So here you go, John. We're going to put this in parentheses as we move. Oh, no, we're not going to put that in parentheses. I'm going to put the numbers now in parentheses. God, guys, the amount of work I'm doing behind the scenes right now, pray for my arm by the time this is all over. Because I don't know if I'm going to still have it left.
Oh, it's going to be like dribbling a basketball, right?
There it is. Big Daddy 1. The Wedding Singer 0. Adrenaline Flux says he stars in Hustle, a great basketball movie. Yeah, that was one that we didn't end up adding here, which we probably could have. That could have been a good foil for Uncut Gems, kind of. All right, my second bit here, an unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny. I already mentioned The Wedding Singer one, and The Wedding Singer one has there are dozens in The Wedding Singer.
The Wedding Singer might have all of them. It has the Flock of Seagulls joke. It has the Boy George joke. It has the DeLorean joke.
It has the clothes that Christine Thompson is wearing throughout the entire movie. Is her name Christine Thompson, or did I just make up a name? What is her real last name?
You mean Ben Stiller's wife?
Yeah. What is her last name?
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm butchering this. Christine Taylor. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So there's definitely multiple in that movie. Now you only get 1 point. We're working on a what do you call it, system here, but
yeah,
you only get 1 point. What about Big Daddy? Any stand out to you?
Like pop culture reference in Big Daddy. This is a tough one. Do you count the Kangaroo song as a pop culture reference, or is it because it's made up?
It's made up, so I wouldn't count that. Yeah. If it was like talking about Barney or Teletubbies or something, that would work, but it's not a real thing.
Right. And I don't think it's unfunny either necessarily, because I think it is clearly like alluding to these children's TV shows, but it's also kind of alluding to the 2001 craze and obsession that North America had with Australia.
Yeah.
So it's a pop culture. It is a pop culture joke, but I think it's actually kind of funny. What do we have in that movie? I can't think of one that is distinct.
So we're knotting this thing up at 1-1 is what we're saying.
I think so.
All right, John, the next one, our favorite one, a bodily function. For example, poop, fart, puke, or pee joke. Now, Big Daddy has about 5,475 of those.
It's the majority of the movie.
It is the majority of the movie. And they're peeing on the wall. which is like the iconic scene from that movie. Like that's the poster for the movie. That's everything. So that counts as 1 point, but that might be the most Adam Sandler scene that's ever been put in a movie. What about the wedding singer in terms of
Well, I mean, we have the other Big Daddy scenes too, of like the ongoing joke of cleaning up the puke with the newspaper.
Yep.
And pee with newspaper.
He's peeing in the bush at school. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it is actually just like most of the reoccurring jokes in Big Daddy fall into this category.
Yeah. Yeah.
The wedding singer. I don't recall one. Because the wedding singer is trying to be a little more serious than that.
I don't know if it has a very specific bodily function joke.
Not that's distinct enough for it to really stand out.
All right. Well, we're gonna give Big Daddy. If you guys can think of anything in the comments, let us know. Yeah, Forrest the Groat says shopping at the grocery store and denting cans. That part is hilarious.
That is very funny.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one here. So the next one is boob or ball jokes. Obviously, these are all. I love that we have to take this very seriously right now.
We do.
These are all over the place in a lot of these early Happy Madison productions. Big Daddy, I struggle to think of where the very specific ones are. But maybe you can help me out on that front. Maybe I should have watched Big Daddy closer.
One of the recurring jokes in this movie is Hooters.
Yeah. See, I forgot that was in this movie, and for some reason I thought that was in Click.
No, it's this one with Leslie Mann's character.
Okay, so that definitely, because that's where she worked, and that's like the running joke. It's funny that works at Hooters.
She's a doctor now, yeah. And then like that joke literally comes up every scene Leslie Mann is in. Including the one where they're shopping at the grocery store and denting cans, which is another word for boobs.
There you go. What about in The Wedding Singer?
I feel like there has to be a boob joke in this movie, right?
I feel Drew Barrymore is such the hot girl. I mean, Peter Dante in this movie. No, I'm sorry, it's Alan Covert, or is it Peter Dante? Whichever one it is. No, it's Alan Covert. Alan Covert makes plenty of jokes about how hot women are and how he's going to sleep with them. So we could kind of lump that in, but it's not as strong as the ones in Big Daddy.
I think the thing is like the jokes aren't really about boobs. It's a lot more like slut shaming jokes in The Wedding Singer,
which I think you should still count.
I guess they do kind of fall into the same.
It comes into like the objectifying route, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It is definitely the objectification of women.
An objectification of women is a big thing in Adam Sandler movies.
I would put it in there, but it's like this is a weak score in this category.
I have a feeling I know where we're going with this one, and we don't have to go as hard in the rest of these movies. Like when we're doing the pairings, we can roll through a little bit, but since the first one, we're kind of trying to give the examples of where we're going. And then obviously after we get through the first time talking about all these movies, then it's just really coming down to, okay, we already said it has this. We already said it has this. Where are we going? So have to be a little bit more thorough with our explanations here. Number 5, a song he wrote for someone. It is the climax of The Wedding Singer.
It is.
It's one of the best ones out of all of them. It's probably that or 50 First Dates that have the best of these songs. That's an obvious duh, no duh. What about for Big Daddy? It has the kangaroo song, but I guess he doesn't sing.
He doesn't write it. He doesn't sing it. I think the closest thing we have to a song written for someone is like the bedtime story he tells in the movie. When he shows up as Scuba Steve's dad, does he sing a song?
I don't think so. I think he just gives a stern warning, doesn't he?
Well, and like tells him, he can't tell anybody about his appearance because he'll get not in the Scuba Society.
I don't think it actually has a song. No, it does.
Does it? When?
No, this is from something else. That's from something else. Okay. Yeah. No, I don't think it does.
I can't think of it. it's really hard when we're comparing it to The Wedding Singer, which is literally about it. But no, I think the typical Adam Sandler song is the kangaroo song in this.
And he doesn't sing it, so we don't count that.
Yeah. Well, and he didn't write it, and that's the big thing.
He
And that
didn't
was part
write
of the criteria, is that he had to have
Okay.
written it.
All right, we're up to number 6. Multiple Happy Madison actors. Both of these movies knocked that out of the park. There's really no question about that. Alan Covert, Peter Donner in both of them. Buscemi's in both of them. Buscemi has a much bigger role in The Wedding Singer than I remembered. Rob Schneider is in Big Daddy, obviously, for a long part of it. So that does nothing for us. So right now we're actually tied at 4-4. It just feels like the Big Daddy ones might be a little bit stronger. Although the Wedding Singer song is very strong. I just like, what do you count? What is more important? Number 7, Bad Guy with a Heart of Gold. That is the premise of Big Daddy, is that he's an immature, irresponsible moron who's working as a toll collector one day a week. In The Wedding Singer, I guess it's more of the loser trope. So I don't know if they're both kind of the loser trope, but in Big Daddy, he's portrayed as a bad guy, where in The Wedding Singer, he's just portrayed as like gutless.
And I think that's the big thing here is Big Daddy. He is shown not to have responsibility. It's established at the very beginning of the movie when him and his girlfriend are discussing whether or not they're going to move on to the next step. And even if you look at like the inciting incident of Frankenstein showing up on, I love the fact that we got to call this kid Frankenstein, on his doorstep. And he's like, no, I'm going to do this. Like, he didn't have good intentions when he took this kid in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and
it was to get the girl back.
It's that bit of like moral grayness that I think is kind of pivotal to an Adam Sandler movie. But by the end of the movie, he's doing absolutely everything for the right reason. And he gives up the kid.
Yeah.
Like, he does the right thing at the end of this movie too.
Yeah, so I don't think we actually give it to The Wedding Singer.
No,
so we got Big Daddy. We got Big Daddy 5-4. And then your 8th spot was reference to the Jewish religion. I mean, the opening of The Wedding Singer is the bar mitzvah.
It is,
where he's singing that with whatever song in the background playing. So that one obviously gets the point. Big Daddy, I feel like, might be one of his least, one of the movies where he references the Jewish religion the least. Am I misremembering this?
I think it's still there. I think it might be during the McDonald's scene. But it's not.
Okay, so I'm looking at a TV trope website here.
Okay.
The Koufax's ethnicity is never revealed, but in one scene, Sonny puts on a subtle Yiddish accent while impersonating his grandmother.
That's right. So it's not pronounced enough, I would say, for it to meet this criteria.
So we just went through all 8 criteria, and we have a 5-5 tie. So after all of that, it was fun to go through that, though, because now we can kind of keep track of, okay, Big Daddy, whichever one advances, Big Daddy or the Wedding Singer. They both have 5. We're in agreement that they definitely have more than half of what is necessary to make a Adam Sandler movie. So which one are you thinking is advancing here? Go by feel now.
Sorry?
Now we're just going by feel.
I have to go with Big Daddy in this one.
I agree
don't know
with
if
you.
You agree with that. Okay,
I do. It was always going to be Big Daddy for me, but we had to have the discussion as thoroughly as we did so people understood why, and so we could create an entire podcast.
Yeah, Big Daddy was definitely, I think, always winning this matchup like 10 out of 10 times, because it's interesting because both of these are very, I would say, more iconic Adam Sandler movies, ones that people reference a lot, people know better. And I think it's one of the many important facets of Adam Sandler as an actor that he does these like dramedy movies.
Yeah, I know. And it's kind of interesting because when you go back and watch them, you realize he wasn't just a silly goof. So it wasn't actually as big of a jump as people make it seem when he did start playing in more serious movies.
Absolutely. I actually, honestly, through this watch of these 12 movies, I gained a lot of respect for Adam Sandler.
Wow.
As an actor. Like, because I think as a population, we often do associate him with those dumb, stupid movies. We have a few of them in here, but even like some of the like dumb, stupid movies that we remember being dumb and stupid aren't as dumb and stupid as we remember them being.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's very fair. So Big Daddy advances. We'll now take this moment to introduce Adam Sandler to the podcast. He's here. I hope that at least one person.
That would be amazing.
I'm hoping at least one person who was listening was like, "Holy shit! Did they actually get Adam Sandler?" We did not get Adam Sandler.
No,
unfortunately. So Big Daddy advances. Next, we're going to move on to the 5-12 matchup, which is grown-ups versus funny people. John, let's take a look at this criteria one more time. A sports scene, an unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny, a bodily function joke, boob or ball jokes, a song he wrote for someone, multiple Happy Madison actors, bad guy with a heart of gold, and then at the end we have references to the Jewish religion. Now let's talk about grown-ups and funny people. So sports scene, obviously the climax of grown-ups is that they play basketball. I mean, that is just that movie is, there's nothing in grown-ups. What did you give grown-ups, by the way? Because we should probably start with that. I got to keep my mind in focus.
I gave grown-ups 1.5 stars.
And what'd you give funny people?
I gave funny people 3.5 stars.
Okay. I gave grown-ups 1 and I gave funny people 4. Funny people's a movie that's always resonated with me. When I saw that in theaters in college or in high school and just always loved it. And it still resonates. And I think it's great. But again, this is not my favorite movie. This is what movie is the most Adam Sandler. So while this would be a joke category, if we were doing which one do I like more, funny people would probably already be in the finals or at least the final 4 against Uncut Gems. This isn't what that is. So in terms of what we're actually talking about, what do you think, John? Sports scene, we already talked about grown-ups, funny people.
There's basketball scenes in funny people. They aren't just pronounced. They're not as important to the plot, but there are scenes where basketball is played in funny people.
Okay. So we're going to say both of them get basketball. And honestly, if you're asking me which sport matters more, it is basketball. Basketball is the one that matters the most when we're talking about Adam Sandler. That's what he obviously wanted to be when he got older, was a basketball player. So, okay, so I'll leave a little bit of spacing there and we'll do that. Okay, so both of them get 1. An unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny. Grown-ups is littered with jokes, references.
The entire movie.
That honestly, I can't even think to name, because half the time I wasn't sure if they were talking about one of their friends or if they were talking about something that actually happened.
Yes.
In the movie. I was so confused for so much of it. So grown-ups knocks it out of the park in that category.
Yeah. I you know what? I just want to talk about grown-ups for a minute because I gave it 1.5. It wasn't my lowest rated Adam Sandler movie, but it's the second lowest I have rated. And like my second least favorite of this group. Because I kind of had this point. Phil, we were having a conversation over text with Steve, and he said he couldn't remember if he saw Grown Ups. And I responded, neither does anyone who's seen Grown Ups.
Except my dad, man. My dad loves Grown Ups.
I was proven this point yesterday when the person I saw Grown Ups with in the theaters when it released didn't remember seeing this movie.
I love that.
And that's because this movie is the most nothing movie of all time. Nothing happens in this movie. There's a 20-minute water park scene. Like,
where they don't make a fat joke. So John, I know that you were you were talking a lot about like when they would make, there were so many fat jokes in these movies. Click has the just scene, whatever. But it's insane to me that with all the fat jokes they make, especially in Grown Ups, there's so many directed at Kevin James being overweight. And then they go to a water park where it's the low-hanging fruit again and they don't take it. And I actually kind of respect that, but then I was also confused while watching the movie but you were making them anyway.
Yeah. But I think the way Adam Sandler handles fat jokes most of the time, if you look at the characters he's making fun of for being fat, it's either himself or one of these like Happy Madison actors.
Yeah, Kevin James, that's his shtick. And Kevin James made millions of dollars off of being the fat guy, and Kevin James isn't even that fat.
Yeah. Precisely.
But that's what he made his money off of. So, yeah.
He, as much as like I'm not a fan of the fat jokes, he almost does them in a tasteful way, not in the delivery of them, but like who he gets them to target.
Yeah. And then I got to say, man, with funny people, There's some funny, the stand-up in this movie is really funny, and I know a lot of it is purposeful, and then when it's not funny, it's not purposeful. But with how many references there are to MySpace, with how many references, we might be looking at the final of this matchup, like of the Adam Sandler bracket right here with Grown Ups versus Funny People. Because I know Funny People is a Judd Apatow movie, but my God, is that an Adam Sandler movie when I was watching it? I was like, oh my God, everything is, there's so many Adam Sandler tropes and everything throughout this movie. It's not as funny as a lot of his other movies, but it is like, or not as silly funny, but it is like, it's got all of this stuff. I mean, we're going to go through this. We're talking about the pop culture references. So I'm going to say both of them have them.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to the peeing and poop jokes. I mean, all over the place in both of these movies. I mean, again, at the water park, we have Kevin James peeing and then everybody pees. Where's the fart? There's the fart joke in Funny People. What is it? It's
I don't know, anytime Seth Rogen opens his mouth.
Yeah, he makes like 1,000 of them. So those are in. So I think this goes to 3-3. We have the entire stand-up bit in Funny People, which I'm not going to repeat, but the entire stand-up bit in Funny People related to Adam Sandler's go ahead, John, you say it, you're Canadian.
What?
Penis. You're the one who used to say penis like 9,000 times per episode on this.
Yeah, of course.
And then obviously in an Adam Sandler movie, I mean, if we're talking about boob or ball jokes, there is the entire scene about how hot Rob Schneider's daughters are, and then
two daughters
his two daughters, and then how ugly his other daughter is, and then how ugly his wife is, and how hot everybody's. I mean, it's just boobs and ball jokes throughout the entire movie. So we're at 4-4. I mean, this is what I'm saying. These are all of them.
Yeah.
A song he wrote for someone. So this is in Funny People because he sings that song to Leslie Mann.
Right.
What is the Funny People song? Let me see if it comes up. Yeah, he sings the song to Leslie Mann at that scene in Funny People. Right? I'm not making this up, am I?
No, that sounds right to me.
Okay. And in Grown Ups, I actually don't know if there is one.
Don't think there's a song in Grown Ups. Because Grown Ups, as much as it's like an Adam Sandler comedy, the Adam Sandler of this movie is this is kind of this. I think Grown Ups was one of the big like switch points in Adam Sandler's career, where he's no longer the immature goofus. He's now I'm trying to be a good dad.
He wants the dad jokes, and that's why my dad loves Grown Ups. He thinks it's like the funniest movie of all time.
Right? Of course. Maybe that's just what you need, children, in order to understand the movie.
Yeah, maybe that's what we're missing. The scene I just think of the scene where the five of them, or how many there are sitting in the lawn chairs, looking up. Half of them are looking at a tree, and the other half are looking at her butt, and then they switch.
Yes.
And the fact that scene goes on for almost a minute, and that's supposed to be really, really funny. And the entire time I was like, wow, they actually sat there and filmed this, and we're like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Killed it. Killed it. Best scene ever. Like, and the worst part is I can imagine my dad laughing very, very hard at that. So here we are. So yeah, but I can't think of a song he wrote for someone.
I don't think there's a song in this movie that he is singing for people, because he is being a little more mature in this one.
So lame. But I am going to say that in terms of this next one, multiple Happy Madison actors. Grown Ups has them all.
And Funny People doesn't.
Yeah, and Funny People has real actors who are making.
It has Judd Apatow actors.
Yeah, it's Jonah Hill
and Leslie Mann. It does have Leslie Mann. So
it does have Leslie Mann, but I don't really. She's also married to Judd Apatow, so
so it doesn't really count.
When I look at like who's in this movie, it is more of like the freaks and geeks kind of people, right? Of Jonah Hill, Jason Schwartzman, Aubrey Plaza, Riz Ahmed, Seth Rogen, even Bo Burnham is in it for a scene. Like, it's insane how many people. Eric Bana, but it's not these other guys. And if they do appear, it's so brief. Whereas Grown Ups is just eating it up. So for me, Grown Ups knots this one up at 5 as we get into the last two.
I agree.
And this is a really interesting category for me with Bad Guy with a Heart of Gold. Because in Grown Ups, you just said it, he's the busy agent who just doesn't have time for his kids, but then he has that. I think that's an obvious check mark.
Yeah.
In Funny People, he kind of goes the opposite way, where he's kind of a scumbag.
Until the very last scene of the movie.
The very
And
last
that's
scene of
the
the
thing,
movie.
is he has the redeeming scene at the end of the movie when he sits down with Seth Rogen at the deli.
So do you think Funny People deserves this?
I think they both get it.
Okay, so we're tied up at 6. Okay, I can respect that. And then we get to the last one, and that is reference to the Jewish religion.
Okay. I mean, Funny People definitely has it because, I mean,
it's more of Seth Rogen doing it, though, right?
It's Seth Rogen doing it, not Adam Sandler, but it's also a Judd Apatow movie, so it also references the Jewish faith a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's Seth Rogen, so it references Judaism a lot, and it's the Adam Sandler. Like it's not as prominent, I would say, in Funny People as it is in some of the other movies we're going to be discussing, but it's there.
Yeah. And what about Grown Ups? I think it's very overshadowed in Grown Ups.
Yeah, like I'm positive it is mentioned at some point, but I don't think it's very prominent.
So we're going to actually say Funny People has a 7 here and Grown Ups has a 6. But do you think Funny People is more of an Adam Sandler movie than Grown Ups?
I don't.
Even though we just went through and said that there's more points towards Funny People than Grown Ups, do you think it's more of an Adam Sandler movie?
I think the big things to consider here, we gave Funny People the sports scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's nowhere near as important as the sports scene in Grown Ups. Like Grown Ups, it is literally the climax of the movie. It's the moral of the movie is taught through it. It's set up from the opening scene through the scene where he's making the jump shot over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And then the purposely misses.
Yeah.
What a hero, man. What a guy.
I know. Like, I don't know how you can't root for Adam Sandler in that movie. Like, he actually just, like, understands the issue and addresses it in the movie and just, like, wants to get everyone's families having it together and having fun. And Funny People, it's like, they're sports. It happens. I think I want to give the edge to Grown Ups because the other big one is the Happy Madison cast. This is the ultimate Happy Madison cast movie. And in the end, Funny People kind of feels more like a Judd Apatow movie.
Yeah, I'm going to say this right now. After rewatching all 12 of these movies, Punch Drunk Love is my favorite.
Yeah.
Funny People is my second favorite. Uncut Gems is my third favorite. Punch Drunk Love and Funny People are perfection. Uncut Gems is really close to perfection, but I think Punch Drunk Love and Funny People are perfect movies. Funny People is so much better. It is. If I was doing my favorite Adam Sandler movies, it would be that Punch Drunk Love versus Funny People in the final.
I agree.
But I'm not. I'm doing the ultimate Adam Sandler movie. And there is no more Adam Sandler movie, at least out of these two. And honestly, maybe out of Big Daddy too. Grown Ups is what, when that trailer dropped, we all sat there and said, oh my God, Adam Sandler's making another one of his stupid movies.
Yes.
You can't say that about Funny People. And then Grown Ups delivered on all of that.
And it's his 4th highest grossing movie. Arguably, it's the highest grossing Adam Sandler movie. But we'll get to that when we get to
because Hotel Transylvania is what Hotel Transylvania is. Yeah. All right, let's go over to the 7-10 matchup. This is the doozy of
the heavy hitter. We want to do the 7-10 matchup before we do the 6-11 because, like, everyone wants the 7-10. We got to keep the suspense going, right?
Oh my God, look at John being a producer over here. He's really doing. All right, we're gonna do Hotel Transylvania. I'm trying to type this out down here. Verse 11, The Waterboy. Dun da da da. Okay, John. You wanted to do it.
I did.
So here's what's funny, though. I want to preface with this. What I do find very interesting, let's look at the criteria for all those watching. Sports scene, unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny. Bodily function joke, poop, fart, puke, pee, boob or ball joke. A song he wrote for someone. Multiple Happy Madison actors. bad guy with a heart of gold, and a reference to the Jewish religion. Hotel Transylvania goes 7 for 8, dude.
I know. It's like surprisingly hits a lot of these categories.
I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I sat down and watched Hotel Transylvania. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a Sony Pictures animation movie. This is going to be what it is. Like, we'll just watch this and have a nice time. And then he's so Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the poop jokes in that movie never stop.
Yeah.
He writes the song for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's specifically boob or ball jokes that they say, but there's definitely hints at them.
They're very, very much implied. Well, no, there's an entire joke about them looking at the skeleton naked.
That's true. You got the Happy Madison actors all over. He is Dracula, so he's obviously a bad guy with a heart of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a sports scene in this movie?
There's like the pool scene, which is kind of like diving and stuff. I don't know if we can really count it as a sports
I mean, there's
scene.
plenty of unfunny pop culture reference that still aren't funny because of all those. The only one that this doesn't have is the Jewish religion. Otherwise, Hotel Transylvania has a lot. When this matchup had originally come up, I was like, okay, the Waterboy is going to win. And then all of a sudden I said, wait, Hotel Transylvania, they made a trilogy, an animated trilogy that is so Adam Sandler. It's absolutely insane. I thought we had made the wrong choice choosing Hotel Transylvania over 8 Crazy Nights. And then after doing it, I said, maybe not.
Yeah, I think this is like a surprisingly Adam Sandler movie. And it's his biggest family movie, which is something, again, it really kind of switches into that criteria of how Adam Sandler changed throughout his career to this point. Like when this movie came out, like this was the point where, again, this was the year after Grown Ups, a couple years after Grown Ups. Like it's that Adam Sandler's a dad now, and this is how he's going to act. It hits a lot of these criteria. It
came out in 2012, and Grown Ups came out in, I want to say 2010. Yeah.
2010. Yeah. So I think it kind of epitomizes what Adam Sandler's become.
So are we giving it 7 or 6?
I can't guarantee the sports reference.
So let's do 6.
So
I think that's fair.
To be,
Okay. Now let's look at the Waterboy.
The entire movie's a sports reference.
There is the ultimate sports movie. I know we also didn't do The Longest Yard. So that was another one that we could have definitely.
As a remake, it was kind of like movie. We couldn't really do the remake.
Yeah, couldn't. I agree. I didn't really want to, but just saying, like that could have been one. So it obviously has a sports reference, unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny, loaded with those. I can't think of any. I mean, movie. Yeah, I mean, the Gatorade water sucks thing. I know that right now there are so many people listening to this who just go, water sucks. It really, really sucks. Every time you say the Waterboy, that's what people say, and that is the most unfunny scene in the history of film. Don't care. Yeah. Don't care. I hate it so much. So that right there alone. Are there any poop, fart, or puke or pee jokes in this movie, John?
There has to be, right?
I know there's plenty of boob and ball jokes.
There are plenty of boob and ball jokes.
But is
poop bodily function jokes? I can't think of one off the top of my head. I will also say, because we forgot to mention it, I gave Hotel Transylvania a 3, and I gave The Waterboy a 1.5. This is my third lowest ranked of the Adam Sandler movies.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to do that. So I gave Hotel Transylvania 3 as well, and I gave The Waterboy, which was the first one I watched, and I said, oh, shit, I'm in for a long haul, 1.5.
Yes. Yeah, you had mentioned it earlier, where there's this opinion that Adam Sandler movies have aged poorly. It's because of The Waterboy. This movie has aged worse than Milk. Like, it is so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad. What are the other ones? So let's say no boober ball jokes are in there. A song he wrote for someone there's no song in this one, right?
No, there's no song in The Waterboy.
Plenty of Happy Madison actors for sure. Bad guy with a heart of gold. Again, this more plays into the loser trope than anything. And then there's nothing about the Jewish religion. So this might actually only have 5.
Yeah. And I think like the other thing is like, well, we should just address the elephant in the room with this. There's this misconception that Adam Sandler plays characters with mental disabilities as like funny characters. again, because of The Waterboy. This is the only time where it's actually, and I think of all of the 12 movies we watched, this is the only one where that happens.
Yeah.
This is, it's just, and it's why this movie doesn't age well. The Waterboy, he is definitely, and I mean, we could even say this is the one of the unfunny pop culture references, because like that was kind of how people with disabilities were treated in movies at the time, as like this joke. And because of that, like a lot of this movie's just not funny.
Yeah. I don't think I laughed one time at
No,
Waterboy.
I didn't. I think I snickered at one point, but like never at all laughed at this one. And
but
it's yeah.
So what I was going to say is, so we're saying that Hotel Transylvania has more of the tropes of an Adam Sandler movie than The Waterboy. Forrest DeGroat says there is a P reference. So there you go. So that's
maybe it surprised me. There's a lot of water.
So it's probably 6'6". Now, we both obviously hate The Waterboy, but is The Waterboy more of a Adam Sandler movie than Hotel Transylvania?
I'm going to argue no. And the reason
I just want to say this. I think what's interesting is you have to think of it as, are we thinking of this from the perspective of the audience of Adam Sandler movies, or are we thinking of this from the criteria we've laid forth and like what we're thinking watching it? Because the criteria, if you're looking at it from the perspective of the audience of Adam Sandler movies, Hotel Transylvania has no shot, because everybody who's into Adam Sandler movies isn't watching Hotel Transylvania. But from the perspective of what actually has more of the tropes, it's Hotel Transylvania. It's just done in a more family-oriented way than The Waterboy.
Yeah, and I think the thing that really edges out Hotel Transylvania for me over The Waterboy, Adam Sandler's a better actor than what he does in The Waterboy. I don't think he challenges himself at all in The Waterboy.
I don't think he meant to.
And just like, even just looking at the rest of the bracket, I think in order for us to be able to give credence to some of these more dramatic performances, we have to acknowledge Adam Sandler is a good actor.
Yeah. I feel like The Waterboy should advance, but I'm also saying that more based on my expectations coming into the bracket that we were doing. And when I sat down and watched all 12 of these movies, Forrest DeGroat does bring up a good point. The Waterboy was created because of the SNL skit reference. So yeah, that's true. But I do think that when I came into these 12 movies, I thought Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, and The Waterboy were the front runners. Those were the front runners. 90s Adam Sandler is what I think of as definitive Adam Sandler, and it shaped everything that came to be for Adam Sandler. And then after watching it, I said, man, Grown Ups and Hotel Transylvania and Click and 50 First Dates, and we'll talk about Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love and like where they fit. They all have these tropes just as much. Like they all do have it. So if you want to move Hotel Transylvania on, I'm willing to do it, because I also want to save my get out of jail free card for anything I have to do with Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I think puts Hotel Transylvania over the top. I just like kind of Googled Jewish reference in Hotel Transylvania. There are articles written about how it perfectly captures life as an American Jewish person.
Well, that's certainly not what I thought was going to come out of that.
No, but apparently it is completely just an allegory for it.
Okay. I mean, hey, I'm into it. Let's do it.
I don't think either of us expected this to happen.
No.
But that being said, I mean, Hotel Transylvania was also more popular than The Waterboy. So
that is true.
So far, we haven't had an upset.
No, and this category, this one, no matter who wins this, it's not going to be an upset. Okay, because Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, I was really bummed that these two ended up facing each other in the first round. These are my two favorite. These are my two favorite of Adam Sandler's like comedies. Like his, there's nothing else to them. They're just comedies. These are my two favorites. They've actually aged pretty well. There's a couple of off-color jokes in there, but really it's not too bad all around. Sports scenes, check, and check. Yes. There are, obviously Happy Gilmore is about a hockey player who can't skate, so he goes and becomes a golfer. And then in Billy Madison, he runs at the end of the movie. That's like one of the challenges he has to do. Yeah, in the decathlon. So but not as a parent, obviously, if you're going based on like what
Oh,
one
there's also
has
the
more.
dodgeball scene. That is a sport.
That is true when he's throwing it at the kids, and that's
Yeah.
that's actually a very funny joke. That
It's
one
a
actually lands.
hilarious joke.
So these both get it. Okay,
Yeah.
these both get the point for that. Second, we have an unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny. So with Happy Gilmore, I feel like okay, so this is a tough category because when I'm watching these movies, I think of them right away and I'm like, man, that wasn't funny. But then when we talk about it, it's a little bit harder to think of like, okay, what was the exact one that made me think that this was in there? But in Happy Gilmore, there's a lot of golfing jokes, but they actually hit more than they don't.
And that's kind of the thing. It's like, even if we're thinking of like the pop culture jokes, like with the Bob Barker of it all, some of the funniest parts of that entire movie are the scenes with Bob Barker.
Him beating the shit out of Bob Barker is the funniest part of that movie.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
So we're actually going to, I think we have to punish Happy Gilmore for it actually being funny.
Which is a wild thing to say. But I can't think of, I cannot think of a single pop culture reference that isn't funny in that movie.
Oh, that's right. He does the Subway commercial.
I thought that was hilarious now because it was the Subway commercial.
Wow. So Forrest the Groat might have saved Christmas, and then John shoots it down and says it's funny, and I can't argue what somebody thinks is funny, so that's out. Now, in Billy Madison, what are the pop culture references in Billy Madison? I shouldn't have done this one. This one makes me think too hard.
It is a tough one. Trying to think. Billy Madison came out in 95. I don't know if there is one in this movie. Like blatant. It's focused so much less because a lot of this movie is Adam Sandler interacting with children.
He argues about what's Donkey Kong or Mortal Kombat, which is better.
That's true. And actually, I was going to save this one for when we got to bodily function jokes. There is literally one of my favorite line in any Adam Sandler movie is in Billy Madison. Yeah, and it's, if peeing your pants is cool, I'm Miles Davis.
Yeah, that's the best line of any of his movies for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, that scene's so fantastic.
It is.
That whole sequence where they go on the field trip is so good because then it has the Chris Farley too of like, so I was sleep. That Veronica Vaughn is one fine piece of ass. And it's just, no, she isn't. You're right. No, she isn't. But I have a friend who slept with Veronica. No, you don't. But it'd be cool if I did. Like, it's just, that whole sequence is just so absolutely ridiculous. But I'm going to say these are funny. So I'm actually not going to award points.
I don't think either of these films meet this category because they are so funny.
A bodily function joke, yes, obviously. We just talked about the peeing your pants is cool on Miles Davis. And in Happy Gilmore, there is
there's a lot of farting in that movie, is there not?
Yes, the farting. That's pretty much, yes, that's where we're going with this. Boob and ball jokes. The best ball joke of any of the movies is when Bradley Whitford is running against him in the decathlon and he trips, he gets pushed over and he lands and all the people look and go, ew, what's wrong with that guy's balls? That's fantastic. Happy Gilmore, I'm going to count the undressing scene as boob jokes. I think those are just fantastic. That is correct. So there we go. So those they each get the point for that. So what is that? So we're at 3-3. A song he wrote for someone.
Billy Madison does, right?
I feel like Billy Madison definitely does. Hold on, I gotta remember. I watched these all so close. Well, so okay. He has the musical number in Billy Madison.
Oh, that's right.
What do we count that as? Because he has the musical number and he is singing it, and it is technically like his redemption.
Diegetic
so I think
music.
That should count.
Yeah. But he's not really singing it to anyone. But I think it should count. I really think it should count because it is. First off, It's very entertaining when there's a random musical number in a movie and it still fits. And
Mhm.
it does in Billy Madison. It is perfect timing for it. It brings the clown back who everyone
Brings
thought
it
was
up.
dead.
Hey kids, you thought I was dead. Yeah.
Like, no. I have to give that to Billy Madison. They get it there.
Yeah. Multiple Happy Madison characters. Obviously, they're all over these movies. With I'm not even gonna go into them because they're just in them. Okay.
Okay.
Like that. We're already at an hour and 9 minutes. We
I
haven't
know.
gotten out of the first freaking round
I
yet.
know.
So
But you know what? While we're on this, Bradley Whitford is so funny.
impeccable, man.
It is
impeccable.
the Bond villain-esque character he plays in this movie is so spectacularly funny. Too much. It's just too much.
Oh my God. I forgot one of my Adam Sandler criteria and I just remembered it now and it makes me so mad.
What is that?
He has to do the yell, the classic Adam Sandler yell.
Oh, of course.
He has to do the classic Adam Sandler yell where he's talking, he goes, "No more," like he makes the contorted face and does that. He has to do that. Well, he does that in all of these, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He does that in every single movie except for Punch Drunk Love, because in Punch Drunk Love, the one opportunity he has to do it, he says, "What did I just tell you?" or whatever he says to Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's that. It just walks off. So that was supposed to be in here. The Adam Sandler yell needs to be in every movie. But Bad Guy, Heart of Gold. I think that fits for both, right? Like
I absolutely think it fits for both. And again, because remember, it's not like bad guy, like villainous guy. It's like shady morals and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Like in Billy Madison, he's the spoiled rich kid who just sits at home and does nothing and drinks all day, and then he has to save the family business. And Happy Gilmore, he's got the temper, he's this, that, whatever, and now he's gonna win the girl and do all of that stuff. So
And I will say, Billy Madison, this is the first time I've ever watched Billy Madison. And you know what? We haven't talked about our ratings for these movies again.
Crazy. I gave them both 3.5.
I gave Happy Gilmore 2.5. No, I gave it 2.
Wow, you're so stupid. It hurts. Sorry, what? I didn't say
Billy
that. Somebody hijacked my mic.
Billy Madison got a 3.5.
Wow. So I think I know where John's going to go with this. So I'm going to have to fight back. Kids. I'm going to have to defend Happy's honor.
No. Billy Madison's so funny. And a lot of that comes down to the way that Adam Sandler portrays this character. Because I went in thinking this was a character that was going to be similar to the Waterboy's character.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It is presented so much as this spoiled rich kid who has just had everything handed to him and actually has to work to do something.
Yeah, it's actually a real movie. That's the thing. Adam Sandler, this is what I was talking about, right? Like there's something so homey about his movies because they are so easy to just sit down and watch and be like, that was nice. I had a nice time watching that movie. That was pleasant.
And that's the thing is okay, I gave Happy Gilmore 2 stars. Let me see my review of it so I can figure out exactly why. But
well, while John does that, when we get to the Jewish religion here,
I remember why. Okay.
Neither one really focuses on it. It's mentioned just like Adam Sandler does in all of it, but neither one focuses on it. So let's get into which one are we fighting for.
Okay. So here's the thing. I remember why I gave Happy Gilmore 2 stars now. And it's because there are a lot of plot points in Happy Gilmore that are brought up very early and aren't mentioned again. And I think I think it really lacks from a script perspective. There are some things where it's he's talking about finding his happy place and stuff, and we get the sexy woman joke of it all, and grandma hitting the jackpot on the slots and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it's spoiled by the cartoonish bad guy in the movie, and when he goes back, it just felt like this movie would have been more complete if when he goes back to his happy place, it took him to going to the hockey game with his dad that's mentioned at the beginning of the movie. It just felt like the script was lacking just a little bit. And again, this isn't a condemnation of it as an Adam Sandler movie. That's just why I have it rated lower than I did.
John is nitpicking the script on an Adam Sandler podcast. So you want to move on, Billy Madison?
I think Billy Madison is the epitome of a Adam Sandler movie.
Wow, do you want to just put it in the winner spot now, John, or should we just stop
No.
doing the bracket? We've had a good time.
Absolutely not. We still have 4 movies we haven't even talked about yet.
These are the 2 movies that, man, if I could have had my way, if I was making my bracket, these 2 would have been in the finals. I would have put them on opposite sides, and I would have had them in the finals.
Yep.
So I mean that's going to spoil probably what's going to happen with Punch Drunk Love. We're still going to talk about Punch Drunk Love and where that fits and everything. But for me, on a rewatch, Billy Madison's better. It's funnier. It's more so Adam Sandler. It's more immature. It's more ridiculous. It's so over the top. And yeah, I think it's better.
I also think
and it's his first one, which is crazy.
It is. Yeah. And I think that like bad guy Heart of Gold category, which both have, I think it's more epitomized in Billy Madison because again, and I'm going back to the field trip scene. That is the scene.
You just lost six viewers because we picked Billy Madison. Way to go, John.
No. But that scene shows exactly how good of a guy Billy Madison is.
Yeah. Yep. All right, we're finally on to round number 2. So in round number 1, Big Daddy beat The Wedding Singer, Grown Ups beat Funny People, Billy Madison beat Happy Gilmore, and Hotel Transylvania beat The Waterboy. All right,
contentious category for sure.
That was, I mean, everybody who's a huge Happy Gilmore fan, just know that I'm just as upset right now. But
you were going to put Billy Madison forward anyways. Don't even.
I mean, yes. No. I'm more saying like I'm upset that we had to eliminate it in the first round. It didn't get its just due.
Agree. I agree.
You know, we got 2 Final Four teams playing each other in the first round. It's unfair. So we're moving on to round number 2, and we're going to do Uncut Gems versus Big Daddy. So we had landed on there are 5 of the criteria in Big Daddy. Let's talk about Uncut Gems. Sports scenes, check.
I mean, Kevin Garnett plays himself in this movie.
He plays himself in this movie. Unfunny pop cultural reference that still isn't funny. That's not in there. This movie is really well written.
This is not a funny movie.
No. A bodily function joke. Oh my God, I'm gonna come. I think that line is
even like if we're really counting it, the kid having to go to the bathroom and like knocking on the neighbor's doors.
Yeah. Boobs or ball jokes.
There's the entire scene where he's in the closet watching his girlfriend like.
Yeah, so I guess that's a joke, but it's so different from what the style is.
It's
normal,
so different. Right? It is, but like it's still technically fits the criteria, but it's so different.
Okay, so we'll say right now we're at 3. Song he wrote for someone is not in there. There are not multiple Happy Madison actors in this movie. Yep. He is not a bad guy with a heart of gold. He's just a bad guy.
Bad guy all the way through.
And then Jewish religion is very much in there. So it actually gets 4, and we only had Big Daddy with 5. So we could make the argument here. It depends on how much of an argument we really want to make here. Uncut Gems it's halfway there. It gets at least half in a movie that is a Safdie Brothers movie. I mean, this is very much more a Safdie Brothers movie. So
this movie feels a lot like High Life did.
Okay.
Which is the other Safdie Brothers movie, the one with Robert Pattinson.
No, that's Good Time.
Or Good Time, sorry.
Yes, it does. It has a very similar feel where it's just pure adrenaline from start to finish. It's intense.
If we were arguing which of these movies was the better movie, it's Uncut Gems by a mile.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Like, it's not close. Uncut Gems, we were just talking about the pure adrenaline. The way the Safdie Brothers use pacing in this movie is a masterclass. Because the first hour and a half is nonstop. You are completely overwhelmed the entire time. You have, and you are comprehending everything that's happening, but you feel like you're missing everything at the same time.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it takes that one breather, all of a sudden, everything you've seen, you have a time to process it, and it just compounds on you. It's just like, holy cow, this movie is so well made.
Yeah, the next time that Adam Sandler comes out with a movie, especially if we continue to do the series that we're doing, that we plan to do come April, it might be fun to do an Uncut Gems and another one of maybe his lesser known movies that, like, you know, even if we did like The Ridiculous Six, just because it's supposed to be terrible, but who has seen that? Uncut Gems is so good. Uncut Gems is so damn entertaining. I love every second of it. As somebody who writes for betting websites and stuff and like does a lot of like gambling sites, oh my God, like this movie is you know, you can see this, and the fact that, oh man, we got to get the opening tip. We got to get the opening tip. We got to get the opening tip. We got to get the opening. His whole life is just, he can't, you sit there and you watch the movie and you try to keep track of how much debt is he truly in.
Yeah.
And you can't keep track of it. And you know, he sure as hell ain't keeping track of it either. He never plans on paying it back. He's just always going to hit it big. He's always going to, and then he finally hits it big and the end of the movie happens. I don't want to spoil that. So,
cool. Yeah. I mean, I the movie almost lost me when we're watching the basketball game at the end. It almost loses me there in like that, like 15 minutes where that sequence is happening. But the last 5 minutes of the movie brings it all right back.
Adrenaline Flux says the music in Uncut Gems is so unique and lively. Also, Thomas McGee is here. He said he's only really ever watched 50 First Dates, but wants to watch Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, and Billy Madison. Click seems funny. We're gonna be talking about Click in a second.
Skip The Waterboy. It's fine.
Yeah.
I only gave Uncut Gems 3.5 stars because I gave it 4. It was so close to 4, and it just lost me that little bit in that like 15 of those last 20 minutes.
But now we've already talked about Big Daddy, so we're putting Uncut Gems up against Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Big Daddy's the Adam Sandler.
It's Big Daddy. I again, like, Uncut Gems is by far the better movie. Big Daddy's much more an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. And like when we included these, it wasn't for the sake of like, wow, this is just going to be every time we're just going to get, there's no way that these movies can win. It just, the way that this set up, if you would have told me it was Uncut Gems versus The Wedding Singer or The Waterboy,
I might have given it
probably
to
could have
Gems.
been I could have made an argument for Uncut Gems. But with how this is set up right here,
it's Big Daddy.
Big Daddy is quintessential Adam Sandler.
I agree.
It is. It's one of the bigs. So there you go. So that goes in there. And next, we're going to go to probably the most interesting matchup of this round. The 5 seed grown-ups taking on, which we said had 7 of the criteria. And it is, it has a lot of them.
Yeah.
Versus the 4 seed, which is Click. Now I'm trying to type this up, John. So why don't you start off the conversation about Click?
I'll start off the conversation that say this is the worst movie we are talking about today.
Wow, there you go, John.
100%. Like,
I gave it 2 stars. I felt it was very whatever.
I gave it 1 star. I thought this movie was terrible.
Well, clearly you gave it 1 star.
We were talking about The Waterboy and how we never laughed. I laughed at something in Click like 5 days after I watched the movie.
Wait, John, I need to pull this up real quick?
What?
Christopher Walken may be one of the worst casting decisions in a major blockbuster ever.
That was about Dune 2. Don't throw me under the bus for Dune 2 again. Actually, it was Christopher Walken that was the joke. Because I remembered his character name is Morty, and he plays the Angel of Death.
Yeah, it's Mortician.
No, it's Mort, just like the French word for dead.
Oh, that too.
Like, it was funny, but it took me multiple days to realize how funny.
Well, that means it lingered. It's visceral. It never left your mind.
No, it was actually because I was trying to remember what Christopher Walken's character name was. No, I thought Click was atrocious. It was so bad. But
I actually think the story is so simple, but I do understand. Like, it was I found it to be like, I get it. I get why it was popular in 2006. It's a movie that just plods along. It does its thing. It's got that interesting concept. That's a sellable concept. And you said it in your review. It's just a Christmas Carol. But
it is. Yeah.
The whole Bed Bath and Beyond thing, they got to include that. I guess you could chalk that up as an unfunny pop culture reference.
Unfunny pop culture
reference. But it always resonated with me where now whenever I go into a Bed Bath and Beyond, I'm like, Beyond. Sports scene. There are sports scenes in this movie, right? Am I not mistaken?
Are there? Yes, there's basketball scenes, I'm pretty sure. No, maybe there's not.
Maybe there's not. Somebody help. Are there sports scenes in Click?
I don't think there are. Because it's not like he has because like, while again, this is early in the Adam Sandler as a dad category of Adam Sandler movies, and the kids are really young, remember? And we don't get them as like teenagers playing sports or anything like that.
Okay, so it doesn't have that. It has the unfunny thing. It also 1000% has a fart joke when he pauses it and farts in the guy's face. David Hasselhoff, right? It's David Hasselhoff.
It is David Hasselhoff.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't mistaken. I refused to look it up because I just wanted to make sure I knew who David Hasselhoff was. So that obviously good, done. That's in there. Boober ball jokes, plenty. Even if it comes down to just the fact that he makes man boob jokes, they're in there. Is there a song he wrote for somebody in this?
In Click? I don't think so. No, because he's just fast forwarding through everything the entire time.
Don't fast forward through your life, kids.
No,
you only get one.
Yeah.
Multiple Happy Madison actors.
It doesn't hit this, does it?
I'm looking right now. I actually don't think it does. I don't remember seeing. I always think of Alan Covert and Peter Dante. Those are my two go-tos. Those are the guys.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't remember seeing them in this movie.
Well, I'm just trying to think of like all the people who are in the movie. You have is Henry should we consider Henry Winkler?
No, he's not. No.
He's been in multiple of the movies.
That doesn't I'm not counting him though.
Okay,
I mean, because he's not in the troupe, and he was also very famous before this.
Yeah,
whereas like the other guys were kind of in with him.
Some might say Henry Winkler himself is the outdated pop culture reference.
That is a very fair point.
Let's see. It's another movie where Adam Sandler has a much more attractive wife than you would think he would have.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest trope that we should have talked about. Yeah, I mean, he always gets the hot wife, but then again, he's also like always good at basketball and stuff. So it's really just like him being better. So I don't think there's a song. There's not the multiple bad guy with the heart of gold. Yes, he's having a hard time keeping up with the family and Jewish religion jokes. Yes, I think there's Passover and Seder references. So we have unfunny pop culture reference, bodily jokes, boober ball jokes. We have bad guy with the heart of gold. So we have 5. There's still 5 things in Click. John, I know you don't want to move Click on. Click versus Grown Ups. Grown Ups was the one I actually had. Yeah, Grown Ups is the one I had ranked the lowest. But like, so when we look at Grown Ups versus Click, because I think these are like 2 like very big Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, they were pretty close when it comes to like his highest gross movies.
Yeah,
obviously, Click is his 4th most popular movie on Letterboxd, which is wild.
Crazy. It's funny when you look. It's Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk Love, and then it's 51st Dates, Click, Grown Ups. What?
Yeah, like
what?
If that doesn't tell you who Adam Sandler is, I don't know what does.
Yeah, we don't know. He's a really talented guy. Forrest said, I like Uncut Gems because it showed a whole different side of Sandler acting. I mean, Sandler's acting in Uncut Gems is amazing. But if you haven't seen Punch Drunk Love, go see Punch Drunk Love because we're going to talk about his acting there in a second. Yeah. Click is a studio movie. Grown Ups is an Adam Sandler movie. That's what I get from this.
I agree with that. I think what it comes down to is Adam Sandler got to be exactly who he wanted to be in Grown Ups, and Click was Adam Sandler being who a studio wants him to be.
So we're going to say Grown Ups.
Also, way too many jokes about dogs humping.
Not enough jokes about dogs humping. The dogs keep humping, John.
It's true. They never stop.
Even the new dog ends up humping.
Do we count Sean Astin as a Happy Madison actor?
No.
Okay, cool.
No, because Sean Astin
conversation was there.
Sean Astin had already been in, Lord of the Rings, Ruby, all that stuff. Yeah, he's clear of the allegations. He beat them. Okay. Good for him. Cool. All right, so we moved on Grown Ups. So we're gonna have Grown Ups versus Big Daddy in one semifinal.
Yep.
And in the now let's go to the other side and let's figure out which side we're going. And we're gonna talk about Punch Drunk Love versus Billy Madison. Now, look, I already know the answer to this, right? Punch Drunk Love is 4 stars. Punch Drunk Love is the best Adam Sandler movie, in my opinion. Punch Drunk Love is amazing. Like Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems, we could do an entire podcast on just those 2 movies. And honestly, with how many people are actually watching our Adam Sandler bracket right now,
it might happen.
It might happen. I mean, it seems like we have more interest in this Adam Sandler bracket than we've had in anything John and I have ever talked about on this channel, movie related. So if we got to do an Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love episode, I'm all in on that because those are 2 amazing movies that I have no problem sitting down and watching again. John, you didn't tell me that I had a mistake here. Come on, man.
Wait, where? I
got it now. John.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I had the thing coming up too high. It's not supposed to come up so
Oh.
high, John.
Oh, my apologies.
And now I might have butchered it even worse because now it's
I
not the
don't know what
right
you're doing.
thickness. Oh my goodness gracious me. But all that being said, like I'd be down to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're wasting our time talking about this, but we kind of are. But let's talk about Punch Drunk Love and give it its due because we're an hour and a half in. There's probably people watching this who really do like Punch Drunk Love. So let's give it its due. Let's talk about it. But everybody's got to know that Billy Madison is going to end up winning this matchup.
Yes. It's not. I think Punch Drunk Love is a lot closer than people might think in this matchup. But ultimately, it's going to be Billy Madison. But Punch Drunk Love, oh, what a film. But it's a PTA film.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is Sandler doesn't do the face in the movie. He doesn't have a sports scene. He doesn't have the unfunny pop culture references. He doesn't have the poop and fart jokes. He doesn't have the
because it's a PTA movie.
Yeah, like it doesn't have any of the criteria that we're saying.
No.
But it's the best. It's the bad guy with the heart of gold. He's got that. So he's got one.
Yeah.
Punch Drunk Love. I'm
pretty sure it has references to the Jewish religion in this movie too.
Okay. I hadn't seen this movie since high school. So really, when I added this one to the list, it was more because I wanted to do it. And I wanted to talk about some of Adam Sandler's more serious movies. Like, let's talk about some serious Adam Sandler movies because there's some really good ones that need love. And Funny People, we already eliminated. Uncut Gems, we already eliminated. We're about to eliminate Punch Drunk Love. And those are my 3 favorite Adam Sandler movies. So it sucks.
Yeah.
But the thing is, his acting in this movie is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
I'm gonna rewatch the PTA movies, and I think I'm gonna go through and watch PTA movies in order.
Rank them?
And rank them and rank them after watching them in order, because everybody knows if you listen to our top 100 movies, I got Boogie Nights in my top 15. I got Magnolia in my top 25. John had There Will Be Blood at what, number 3? 2. So John had There Will Be Blood at number 2. Like, we are huge PTA fans. Licorice Pizza, I think, is a perfect coming of age movie. But Punch Drunk Love shocked me this time. I didn't get it the first time I watched it. And watching it this time, talk about sound in a movie. Oh my God, man. You just feel like it's as stressful of a movie as Uncut Gems, and it's a romantic comedy.
Yes. The scene where the sex work scammers phone his office is one of the most stressful scenes in any movie ever. With
the background, your sister's on line 1, I can't take her, and then the sister comes in, and then he's talking, and Emily Watson comes in, and you got Louis Guzman. I mean, it is insane. It is such. If you have not seen Punch Drunk Love, if you're listening this far, 2 things: subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Please like this video. You are watching an hour and 32 minutes in. Please like this video. And 3, watch Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah,
because Punch Drunk Love is just incredible. And it's like you feel the stress, but Sandler is so subtle in the movie where he's like, when he breaks the windows the first time, you can feel it coming. And that's just perfect direction and perfect writing and all of that from PTA. But you can feel it coming. You can feel the buildup. You can feel the stress. You can feel everything going on with him. But when he breaks those windows and you're like, oh my God, there's something actually wrong with this guy. Like, he's not okay. It's such a great reveal. It's so well done. But this is a PTA movie, and we're doing the ultimate Adam Sandler movie.
And in all honesty, I don't know if anyone didn't know, Adam Sandler had a new movie that came out 2 weeks ago, Spaceman. And I actually watched an interview he did with Letterboxd when they were talking, they did their 4 favorites that they do on their Instagram all the time. And it's him and Paul Dano. And they're talking about it. And Paul Dano says Punch Drunk Love as one of his 4 favorites. And Adam Sandler says, I can't take credit for that. That's a PTA movie. And if that doesn't tell you how we have to handle this bracket,
I
don't know what does. Because Adam Sandler himself was saying, thank you. I love my performance in this, but I can't take credit for it because of Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah. And Harrison Quante says it's interesting, Spaceman. So maybe we'll have to check out Spaceman. So, John, after a round of it was only favorites, now it's only been upsets, which makes sense because Letterboxd is a little bit more pretentious in a good way. And so these aren't going to be necessarily Adam Sandler movies. The last new introduction, though, an hour and 33 minutes in, and then we pretty much will sprint through these last 2 rounds. Hotel Transylvania is taking on 50 First Dates. John, what did you give each of these movies? Or what'd you give 50 First Dates? Because obviously we already know what you gave the other.
I gave 50 First Dates 2 stars.
Okay. I gave it 2.5.
It's kind of in that range. I think it felt like a 2.5 movie to me.
If you can turn your brain off, like willingly, and I know some people struggle with this more than others, this movie's actually quite fun. The whole idea that like once she falls asleep, her memories are gone. Like it's actually kind of fun. It's stupid, but it's fun, and like it's a nice little romantic comedy. I like the setups with the swinging door. Or do you come from a planet where you put your fingers in other people's food and all of those types of jokes? Like I really do enjoy all of that stuff. It's dated for sure, but you know, I like the references to, oh, the Sixth Sense. I bet this is gonna happen, or like whatever touchdown play, and how now at this point Sean Astin and the dad are like abusing this.
Yes, yeah, it's funny. Also, shout out to the fact that the quarterback they mention in this movie is Brad Culpepper.
Brad Culpepper wasn't a quarterback. No, it's Dante Culpepper.
Dante Culpepper. Yeah.
Yeah. John was so excited. John's not a football guy.
I'm not.
He was so excited.
But you know
Brad Culpepper, for anybody who doesn't actually listen to our Survivor stuff, if you're wondering why John mentioned that, it's because Brad Culpepper was on Survivor twice. But yeah, Brad Culpepper was actually a defensive player. Dante Culpepper is the quarterback for the Vikings. But that's okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't
know the hockey players reference.
Yeah, there you go. I get hockey players and stuff. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for First Dates, let's go through the criteria, because like I think this is a movie it's a really endearing movie. I find it's like, again, it kind of follows. It's not as dramedy as The Wedding Singer. Is a lot more rom-com than that, I would say. And I mean, I kind of think we kind of have to talk about the two movies in the same breath because they have the same two leads.
Yeah, no, of course. And I actually think that 50 First Dates does a better job with the Drew Barrymore character than the Wedding Singer does. I think the Wedding Singer one, she just leans in too quickly to being like, I just want to get married, and like I'm so happy that I met this average looking guy with a shitty mullet. So anyway, let's do them. Sports scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we already talked about the football. There's also the golf scene.
Yeah, where he hits it down and he actually got hit in the head.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely has sports scenes.
An unfunny pop culture reference that still isn't funny. I find the Sixth Sense stuff to be funny, so it'd have to go beyond.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Let's see. I can Google 50 First Dates pop culture references.
There you go. I'm just thinking, like, I feel like this movie doesn't reference pop culture as much as it gets referenced as pop culture.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it gets mentioned a lot more often than it mentions anything else. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. So let's say we got one. A bodily function joke, poop, fart, puke, or pee. There's plenty of those with Rob Schneider's character, right? Even if they're not necessarily those. There's the whole thing with the shark. I mean, you count like the bleeding.
Doesn't the walrus puke at one point?
Oh, yeah, the walrus pukes all over the lady, and then they give high fives because that was planned.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Boob or ball jokes, plenty of them directed at the Alexa character. Yes. The song he wrote for someone, probably the second most iconic. He just likes to write songs for Drew Barrymore. Multiple Happy Madison actors. Yes. Check.
Also, the weird thing, while we're on this topic, Rob Schneider plays a weird amount of ethnic characters in these movies.
I think that was like always the shtick, and people can look at that now and say, "Oh, it was so like insensitive and blah blah blah." But I do think at the time this was the shtick of like Rob Schneider is going to be the guy in their troupe who is going to play Hawaiians or whatever it's going to be. He's just going to be that guy. Yeah.
Also, I sat down and watched this movie, forgot that was even Rob Schneider. I probably haven't seen this movie since it came out, and I watched it as a kid.
I thought you were saying while you're watching, you forgot it was him, and I was like, "Wow, Rob Schneider, well done, you acted that well." But John realized it was you right away. He just forgot.
No, I just realized as soon as he was on screen, I'm like, "Holy cow, that's Rob Schneider!" And probably because as a kid, I didn't expect it to be a white dude playing a Hawaiian. But
wow, as a kid, you picked up on that. See, when I was a kid, I was like, I don't know. And then as I got older, I was like, "Is that Rob Schneider playing a Hawaiian dude?" But like really leaning into the Hawaiian trope of all of this. Okay, so we definitely have the Happy Madisons. Bad guy with the heart of gold. Yes. You know, all he wants to do is sleep with women.
Yeah, exactly.
There for 1 week.
It was when I watched this movie that I realized that was the trope.
Yeah.
It was
Now,
like,
is
oh
the
wow,
Jewish religion mentioned in this movie? I don't think it is because he doesn't get
I don't
into
think
his
so.
family.
No, he's kind of by himself in this entire movie, right?
So, so
It
go ahead.
focuses much more on like the Hawaiian aspect of this movie than it does anything else.
So, Hotel Transylvania and 51st Dates both get 6. Sports
Oh,
scene, bodily
yeah.
function, Boober Ball, song he wrote, Happy Madison, bad guy with a heart of gold, no Jewish, and there's no unfunny pop culture reference, at least not one that stands out to us.
Mm-hmm. What are you thinking?
50, I think 51st Dates.
I agree. I don't think there's any question here. Just because 51st Dates is probably Adam Sandler's most iconic movie, which is a weird thing to say. But I think if you talk to a lot of people, 51st Dates is the movie that a lot of people associate with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think there's a reason why it's the third most popular on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's his most popular rom-com, to be totally honest.
That's
Like
true.
I think that helps. And I feel like with rom-coms, those are the ones that everybody can sit down and watch. And like, so if you're like, I want to watch an Adam Sandler movie, and then your wife's like, well, I'll watch an Adam Sandler with you, but it's got to be 51st Dates. Okay, we'll watch 51st Dates for the 900th time because at least I get to watch him be an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But this sets up a great Final Four.
It does.
It sets up a great Final Four.
I almost think if just going in, if we had seeded this, the only difference would be Happy Gilmore would be in here instead of one of these movies.
Yeah, and I actually don't know which one of these movies I would have not included to include Happy Gilmore. Like,
yeah,
I guess we're gonna find out now. So on the left side, we have Big Daddy versus Grown Ups. I like that I just have the ticker going now at the bottom because now I'm not going to go and make this stuff again. So we have the 8 seed Big Daddy taking on the 5 seed Grown Ups. On the right side, we have the 10 seed Billy Madison taking on the 3 seed 51st Dates. Big Daddy versus Grown Ups. When we did our initial, we had 5 things for Big Daddy, 7 for Grown Ups. Big Daddy has the benefit of being made in the 90s and being more of the young and mature Adam Sandler. Mm-hmm. Grown Ups is the Happy Madison version of Adam Sandler, where it really leans into having him and all his friends go on vacation.
Yeah.
Where do you lean initially?
This is tough. This is a tough matchup. I think initially I'm leaning Grown Ups again,
which is good because I'm leaning leaning Big Daddy. So this is
okay. Perfect.
Now we can sit here for another 45 minutes and figure it out.
Exactly. I think the hardest thing about this movie, Grown Ups is our outlier at this point when we look at the remaining movies. Mm-hmm. It is, we talked about it already, like it is that different era of Adam Sandler from all these.
I agree with that, but I also think 51st Dates, being that it's a rom-com and it's a full-blown rom-com, I think actually Billy Madison and Big Daddy are the most similar. Grown Ups and 51st Dates both are kind of like, they're in good matchups here of can Grown Ups or 51st Dates overcome what I think is what a lot of people associate with Adam Sandler, which is this immature young guy.
Yeah, this archetypical Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Here's my argument.
Yeah, okay, let's hear your argument.
Big Daddy is solely focused on Adam Sandler.
That's
Grown Ups is so much about the Happy Madison troupe.
Yeah, that's a really
they all get their arcs, they all get their bits, they all do all of their stuff. But Big Daddy is Adam Sandler. Like Jon Stewart is in that movie. What the hell is Jon Stewart doing in that movie? To me, Big Daddy is an Adam Sandler movie. Grown Ups, you could like Chris Rock and have never seen an Adam Sandler movie, and you're going to go see Grown Ups.
That's true.
And I think that's the difference. You have Salma Hayek, you have Maya Rudolph, you have who plays Kevin James's wife? Oh my God, dude. Is it Linda Cardellini? No, it's not Linda Cardellini. No. Who the hell plays her? Oh my God, dude. Now it's gonna bother me. It is boop ba-da-doo. Somebody's in here going, dude, Phil, it's this person. Maria Bello. Thank you. Yeah, yes. Maria Bello. Yes. I could not think of her name for the life of me. She's great in The Cooler. If you haven't seen the movie The Cooler's great. But so Maria Bello.
Yeah.
It's not Adam Sandler. It's everybody.
It's everybody. It's kind of, it's that culmination of what Adam Sandler had become up to that point, and his
Mhm.
acknowledgement of the people who helped him get there. Which is why it ticks off so many more of the criteria.
It does. It does. I think we got to move Big Daddy to the final.
I agree. I do agree with that.
Yes, I win. I'm better than John. I win. All right. Billy Madison versus 51st Dates. John said he thinks 51st Dates might be the most popular quintessential of the Adam Sandler movies. It's taking on Billy Madison, which is the first Adam Sandler movie, and I'll be frank, the one I associate with Adam Sandler, but it was also the one I watched the most as a kid. 51st Dates, rom-com, Billy Madison, kind of immature, childish humor. What do you have what's your initial take here, John?
Billy Madison.
Okay, good. Me too.
Yeah.
That was a fun discussion.
I honestly don't think it's a close. Like, on paper, it's close, but when you get into it, I don't think it's close at all. I think Billy Madison epitomizes what Adam Sandler is.
And I think that's the thing with this one is like 51st Dates is great, but if we were doing like duos, if we were doing a bracket of like romantic comedy duos, and the first round you'd have The Wedding Singer versus 51st Dates, and then you would go and you'd take a different romantic comedy duo. Let's say Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston, Along Came Polly, and something else. I can't think of another one, but let's say you did that. The winner would then go on and face the other, and 51st Dates might win that because 51st Dates is like a quintessential 2000s rom-com. It's a movie everybody saw, like insanely popular, like you said, did great box office, like all that. But Billy Madison is Adam Sandler. And this is based on how the bracket set up originally. This is what the final is supposed to be when you're saying what is the most Adam Sandler movie. This is it. This is what it's supposed to be. Big Daddy versus Billy Madison. Really? It was supposed to be Billy Madison versus Happy Gilmore or Big Daddy versus Happy Gilmore. But Billy Madison versus Big Daddy is what this was always meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way this broke out, I don't think there was any way we had a different final happening here.
And what do you think is the winner?
So I think we have a couple of points to consider, and that is, does Billy Madison take the edge by being by having a larger gap between the character at the beginning of the movie and the character at the end of the movie? Because I think that's what it really comes down to. Because
this is what I think it comes down to with these two movies. Do you define an Adam Sandler movie as a movie where it's an immature idiot who is becoming, or, immature in any way, it doesn't have to just be an idiot, but an immature guy who overcomes for the benefit of something kind of silly? Or do you associate Adam Sandler movies more with immature guy who still remains silly, but it's taking place in a more serious situation? Because I think that's a fair question.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems is a very serious situation. The Wedding Singer is a more serious situation. Funny People is a very serious situation with the cancer scare. Punch Drunk Love is a more serious situation. Grown Ups is silly, right? Like, and I'm staring at Grown Ups right now, so that's easy for me to see, but let's go over here. Happy Gilmore is silly. The Waterboy is silly. So what do you associate Adam Sandler with more? Like, when you're looking at the ending of these two movies, the climax of these two movies is in Big Daddy, he's having to fight in the court setting, which is still kind of silly, but it's a court setting fight. Whereas in Billy Madison, it is him going head to head against Bradley Whitford in this absolutely ridiculous
academic
decathlon that involves cooking, and the guy lights on fire and he's laughing at him
and the Shakespeare and everything.
Good. Exactly. So, like, what do you think is more Adam Sandler?
So I think something to consider is in Big Daddy, with like the court case at the end, Sonny is a trained lawyer in that movie still. Like, he never did the bar, but he went to law school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think this is tough. Because I ultimately, I think both of these are very indicative of Adam Sandler. I think these are both movies that you say Adam Sandler, these are probably two of the first movies anyone mentions,
Mhm.
depending on who you ask. But like, if you poll,
Normally,
like,
people
100
will
people,
say, yeah, they'll say Big Daddy, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, or 50 First Dates. And then you'll get the people like us who'll be like, yeah, but did you see him in Uncut Gems? Did you see him in
yeah,
Punch Drunk Love? Oh, but I love funny people. Like, you'll get those people,
yeah.
but generally, these are two of the 4 movies that are mentioned first. I was really
And
surprised Big Daddy was the 8th most popular, and Billy Madison was the 10th most popular. I think people just don't review them on
that's
Letterboxd.
the most shocking one, was Billy Madison at 10.
I think it's just
After
that people don't review them. I think people
Yeah.
probably have seen them so many times or whatever, and they're not like going out of their way. Like they don't want to cloud up their Akira Kurosawa and Ingrid Bergman with Adam Sandler, which our top movie guy of this year, our top actor is going to be Adam Sandler.
Most likely. It'll be very
Yeah,
shocked
and
if he's not
unfortunately,
at
and
this
it's
point.
March 11th, and we already know that. That's a shame.
Yeah. Well, I think something to also consider when it comes to Adam Sandler movies is something that Forrest Grote mentioned earlier, is reruns considered, because you mentioned it with Happy Gilmore, but I think that's the other thing with this era of Adam Sandler movies. These movies were on TV every week.
Every week.
But when we're looking at the criteria that we've set, what Big Daddy had 5,
Mm-hmm.
and Billy Madison had
I
how
think it
many?
was 6. I didn't actually write it down. Hold on. So it
Okay.
was sports scene, unfunny pop culture. Did we give it
Bodily
unfunny pop
function.
culture? It definitely had body function, boober, but it had the song. We counted the song, multiple It had 6 because we didn't
Okay.
count the unfunny pop culture and
Right.
we didn't count the Jewish. So it actually has 1 more than Big Daddy.
So it has 1 more than Big Daddy. So they're pretty close. I think both of these movies also do something that we didn't put into our criteria. We kind of mentioned it a couple times throughout this podcast. There are times when Adam Sandler does not take the low-hanging fruit joke.
I said that
Yeah,
though, right? Like
yeah.
it's crazy to watch Big Daddy and see him say what the scene is. I'll never get used to the two of them making out. And he goes, well, they're gay. And that's what gay guys do, man. And you're like, wait. There was no joke there. And you felt like it was setting up for the super simple, let's take a shot at the gay guys.
And it's
And
not. It's actually, it's being like, this isn't weird. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
And Billy Madison does the same thing with that one kid's mom. Because that one kid's mom gets introduced, and you're like, oh, Billy's totally going to sleep with her. Doesn't happen in the movie.
Doesn't happen. He's too busy with this 3rd grade teacher.
That is true. Also, that kid's family is so hilarious. What is it? The O'Douls?
Oh, the O'Doyles. The O'Doyle rules.
And then all of a sudden, the banana peel, like,
which they set up way earlier in the movie.
Oh, perfect setup for a joke. I think ultimately what it comes down, because of how close these criteria are, we have to consider the other thing we've been talking about this entire time. Adam Sandler's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
He has range. Which one of these two movies shows more range?
I think Billy Madison, but you're going to tell me Big Daddy.
No, I was also going to say Billy Madison.
Really? I thought you were going to say Big Daddy, but sure. I think Madison does.
I think Big Daddy shows like that endearing side of Adam Sandler, which is, I think, really important to his movies. I think when we look at his best performance, which is Punch Drunk Love, that is that character, right? Like that endearing character. I think it is quintessential Adam Sandler. I think Billy Madison has that stupid, dumb character who's just like goofing around and like hallucinating about penguins.
Yeah.
But it also gets to that endearing character as well. And I think within the movie itself has a much larger range of performance from Adam Sandler than Big Daddy does.
Yeah. All right. So we have crowned. We're doing it. We're doing it. The 10 seed, the 10th most popular of this bunch. That doesn't even mean it's the 10th most popular movie actually on that site. It could be even like lower on that list because you got to think pixels and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we are saying Billy Madison is the ultimate Adam Sandler movie. So John,
his first
movie. Well, maybe that makes sense, right? Maybe that's how it goes. Maybe the first movie of people is their most version of them. So here's the Forrest says Gilmore and Billy should have been 1 and 2. I mean, we couldn't do anything about that. It was 7 and 10. So you can see the bracket here in the first round. Big Daddy beat The Wedding Singer. Grown Ups Beat Funny People. Happy Gilmore beat Billy Madison. Hotel
No, other
Transylvania
way.
beat the
Billy
Waterboy.
Madison beat Happy Gilmore.
Sorry, Billy Madison beat Happy Gilmore. Hotel Transylvania. I was reading up and down instead of actually
Yeah.
reading what won. In the second round, Big Daddy beat Uncut Gems. Grown Ups beat Click. Billy Madison beat Punch Drunk Love, and 51st Dates beat Hotel Transylvania. In the semifinals, Billy Madison beat 51st Dates, Big Daddy beat Grown Ups, and then in the finals, Billy Madison beat Big Daddy. Let us know what you think. Leave it in the comments. I see a lot of you were in the chat, which is awesome. I hope you all enjoyed this podcast. This was a really fun podcast. I really enjoyed doing this. Next week, we're doing 16 movies. We won't have the criteria for the next 16. It will be more of an open discussion because it is just determining which of the 16 most popular movies on Letterboxd should actually be the most popular movie on Letterboxd. So that will be fun to go through the bracket that way. And the rankings will be based on 1 versus 16. And that's just the most popular versus what is the least popular of those 16. So that'll be fun.
It helps that we've also got in depth on most of those movies too.
We have. Yes. We've done The Dark Knight. We've done Barbie. We've done a lot of those. So
we've done a lot of them. Yeah.
This was a really fun podcast. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as we did, because this is something that I'm glad we're doing 2 more brackets after this, because then the bracket after that is 8 90s nostalgia movies. And we talked about which ones we were doing in our last episode: Sandlot, Air Bud, Cool Runnings, Space Jam. These aren't the right ones. Okay, that's the wrong list. Anyway, so Billy Zane is now here. Now we have the real Nicolas Cage and we have Billy Zane. You should have included Reign Over Me. Reign Over Me is great, but Reign Over Me is...
I haven't seen that one.
Was not going to get in, was not going to make it. Thank you all so much for listening. If you made it this far in the podcast, please consider, I will get rid of the ticker now about poop and boobs. Please consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/specialist. Every Tuesday, John and I are doing a random movie from 45, 55 years ago, whatever we want to do. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid drops tomorrow. Then Ghostbusters the week after, North by Northwest. It's just a little something extra we're doing over on the Patreon, $5 patrons. If you haven't checked out our Oscar preview, I know the Oscars already happened, but go listen to us be really freaking right. We were 6. We each got 6 wrong only. That's the best we've ever done. So that was really exciting. And go check out some of our other movie episodes. We've had a really good year. We talked about a lot of movies that came out this year. We did Dune Part 2. John did not like it as much as everybody else, and the internet has told him how they feel about that.
It's still fine.
It's still fine. But check that out, and we'll be back next Monday. I think that's the plan, right, John? You good next Monday?
I should be.
Okay. If it's not next Monday, it'll be next Tuesday, but we'll figure it out. But either way, it's going to be next week at some point, and we are going to be talking about the top 16 most popular movies on Letterboxd, and we're going to try to determine which one is the most popular. Until then, go check out Billy Madison again. It's probably been too long for all of you, just like it had been too long for me. I'm so happy I went back and rewatched it.
Yeah.
And we'll see you later. Oh, yeah, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Duh. Even if you're listening on iTunes or Audioboom or Spotify or whatever the hell you're listening, iHeart, come over here to YouTube. Hang out. Bye, friends.